So about a year and a half ago, I was at home minding my own business on a Saturday, and my business partner, our CEO, Carrie Capola, sent me a video text. And I checked this out, and this video was kind of weird. See, he and his family had gone to visit his brother's family, and they were all out in the backyard, and there was a pond not too far away from the backyard where there were some geese swimming around. And it turned out that there was a baby goose swimming around in the pond, and Carrie's kids noticed that the goose was struggling to stay above the water. And so they said, "Daddy, can you go out, help this goose, save this goose?" It looked like maybe it was stuck on some string or some garbage or something like that. And so being the heroic guy that Carrie is, he went in the house, he got some swimming trunks on, and armed with his niece's rainbow unicorn floaty, he made his way out to save this baby goose. And so he got out to the goose, and he reached down to untangle it, and it turns out it wasn't string or anything like that. There was actually a snapping turtle that had its mouth around the goose's foot, and it was trying to pull it down. So Carrie was a little surprised, but he stuck with it. He pulled the goose over to the shore. His brother came over. They dislodged the foot from the snapping turtle's mouth, and the goose was able to go on its way. So he sent me this video that his wife had took, and I had a good laugh at it. And Carrie posted this on his Twitter. And understandably so, it started to get a lot of engagement right away. I mean, lots of people were liking it, commenting on it, and sharing it. And it got so much engagement that suddenly a few media outlets started picking up on it. In fact, Channel 13 here in Des Moines actually wrote a story on it. And I think the headline that they wrote might be the greatest headline that you've ever read. And it says, "Goose rescued from snapping turtle by local man on unicorn." Awesome headline. Awesome headline. So not only that, they actually ended up coming and doing a news story about it as well. And so suddenly, Carrie's like a local celebrity. And then WHO Radio did a story on it. When Carrie got back to the office on Monday, he was contacted by the Irish Examiner, which was a newspaper in Ireland. They had heard about it, and they wanted to do a story on it. Little by little, media outlets all over the country and all over the world started covering this crazy guy on this rainbow unicorn floaty that was saving geese. ABC News, Yahoo News, Nightline, Good Morning America, everyone was covering this. And so I actually Googled it before I came here, and for Goose Save, I mean, it's the #1 video result. So it has some great SEO on this story as well. And so, of course, we all laughed about this quite a bit internally and really enjoyed it. And so we got these little rainbow unicorn inflatables, and everyone put them on their desks. We really enjoyed it. Carrie went to lunch not long after this happened with one of our clients, and she actually brought a giant unicorn inflatable for him and gave it to him at the office. What a fun, laughter-filled event this was for our office and for our culture. I mean, it was a huge boost to our culture. It was so much fun. And all this because we have a leader who's okay laughing at himself, who doesn't take himself too seriously. And that's been wonderful for our culture. So company culture is something that I've become really, really passionate about over the years. And you know, we all see companies out there that claim they have a good culture. Almost every company claims they have a really fantastic culture. You go to their websites and you'll see photos of all the team going and doing one service day, or you'll see pictures of people having, beer at 4 o'clock on Fridays. But just having a service day or letting people drink beer at 4 o'clock on a Fridays doesn't make for a great culture. It goes much, much deeper than that. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about what we've done over the years at Blue Compass to create a good culture. We've won awards for our culture, and it really, really has helped us retain and attract great, great talent over the years. So I'll share a little bit about what we've done, and I hope you find it valuable as well for your organization. So years ago, I actually worked at an organization that didn't have the best culture. And I don't know if you've ever worked at a place like that before, but I always found that drama and gossip crept into the workday. No one likes drama and gossip, and yet they still persist at so many organizations. And it was really taxing at the end of the day, I felt, to endure some of that drama and gossip. So we started Blue Compass in 2007, and one of the first things that we decided is we wanted no drama, no gossip. We wanted a fun, positive environment for people to work at, and we were really passionate about that. And during the first few years, it was really easy for us. It was just two of us. Slowly, we added more and more team members, and we always had a great culture. And then in 2013, the best and the worst thing that ever happened to us occurred. We got a huge, huge client, bigger than any other client we'd ever had before. And it really allowed us to expand. We doubled in size immediately. So obviously that was really good in some ways, but we also grew too fast. And because of that, I feel like our culture took a hit. And suddenly I started noticing some drama and gossip cropping up here and there that maybe we hadn't had before. And so that was really tough. And we worked through that and made some changes, and thankfully, and over the last few years, things have been really, really good in a culture. But I learned that, just your positivity and just your desire for a great culture isn't enough to sustain a great company culture. You have to be purposeful about it, and you have to be really diligent about having a great culture. It takes work and cultivation. It's not easy, but we can all do it. We all want to work at places that support us, that have our back, that are fun. It's a really good place to work. And so that's the goal. And so you might have noticed over the last few years, more and more people are talking about company culture, and it's something that seems to have been growing. And I think it's because of the younger workforce we have now. With millennials and now Generation Z even starting to enter the workforce, there's a lot of studies out there that say these people value experiences over benefits. That company culture is so valuable to younger people especially. And so I think that's one of the reasons we hear so much about it these days and why it's become so important. It's very different than it used to be years ago. Very, very different. And so if your team members are like a plant, then company culture is the soil. And if you take care of the soil, if you fertilize it, if you water it, those plants will grow and flourish and do really, really well. And that's what company culture does for your team members. It's so vitally important. We believe that nothing increases loyalty and productivity more than a fantastic company culture. More than salary, more than health care, more than benefits. That might sound a little controversial, and don't get me wrong. I think people deserve to be well compensated, great benefits. That's crucially important. But company culture, a great, supportive, fantastic, fun company culture increases loyalty and productivity more than anything else. It's so very important. So I'm going to share with you 5 things that we have done to increase our company culture. And as I go through this, if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out or write them down for later. And so 5 things, or in the theme of our presentation today, 5 unicorns to create an incredible company culture. So the first one is know your values. So define and live your company values. Vitally important. So years ago, we were contacted by a new restaurant that was looking for a website. So I went down to meet with this guy, and I walked into this restaurant, and construction was still going on, and this guy was so passionate about his brand. It was really exciting. He took me through and he showed me these 2 $30,000 ovens that cooks burgers perfectly every single time in the healthiest way possible. He came over and he showed me this ice cream bar that they had, and they were importing ice cream from Wisconsin, and you couldn't get it anywhere else in Iowa. He showed me the movie nights that they were going to have every night. He had the rights to all these movies. They were going to have Michael Jackson nights on Tuesday nights. He had all the rights to the Michael Jackson music videos. He was so excited about it. All of his servers, he showed me, were going to have this credit card scanner on their belt, so they were able to take as few steps as possible when they were coming and going towards people's tables. He talked to me about the attorneys that he was talking with to franchise this opportunity, and they had been involved with Wendy's and franchising Wendy's. I mean, he was so excited and so passionate, but he was all over the place, and there wasn't any one thing that he focused on. And so, unfortunately, we didn't end up working with them. But you can bet when that restaurant opened up, I was like one of the first in line because I was anxious to see, how good this food was and everything. And I thought it was good food, and it was kind of a cool place. But unfortunately, they went out of business 6 months later. And that was a sad thing, but I think sometimes we're guilty of that same thing, where we don't focus on one thing, where we're kind of all over the place. And so I think company values is so vitally important. If you can define what your organization believes and what you want people in your organization to live out, and then if you live those out and reinforce those, you'll be way ahead of the game. And so think about what are those values that you want to see people live out in your organization. And maybe you already have some company values, and they just need to be emphasized a little more. So at Blue Compass, these are our values. And the first one is we are positive. We believe positivity lets you do everything better than negativity does. Really important for us. We continually grow our expertise is our next value. In our industry, with all the changes that happen in technology, Google's algorithm changes, Facebook's changes all the time, it's really important for us to stay on top of those changes for our clients. So that's vitally important for us. We support one another as our next one. We want to have an organization where no one's looking over their back, concerned that someone else is going to stab them or take credit. We want a really supportive organization. If someone works past 5 p.m., we want to have a culture where someone else is going to come up to them and say, hey, what can I help you with? That's what we want. We give our clients our best is our next value statement, a statement of quality, which obviously is vitally important for everything we do. And then the last one is we reject drama and gossip. When people see these on our wall or on our website, which one of these do you think most people like the most or gravitate towards the most? The last one, that's right. We reject drama and gossip. Everyone loves that one. Everyone loves that one. And yet, we see that in so many different organizations, don't we? No one claims to like drama or gossip. But that's really important too. And so one of the ways we've worked at combating drama and gossip is to define it really clearly. So to us, gossip is any negativity that's passed to someone who can't do anything about it. So if two people working next to each other, one complains to the other about something, that's gossip. Instead, they should take that issue or that complaint to a manager, to a leader, or something like that, someone who can do something about it. So our values are so important to us that on our reviews at the end of the year, we give everyone a sheet that's really pretty simple. And it simply has each of our values, and then we ask everyone, myself included, to rate how well did you do at that this last year. So our values are so important, and I've learned over the years that my number one purpose at the organization as a leader is to live out our values and our mission, to articulate them, and to help our team members do the same. So, so important. So doing this has really helped our culture grow and become much more positive. All right, number 2, care about everyone's opinion. Years ago, we were working with a really big technology company, and it was a great client, really profitable for us. But the problem was no one in our office were having a good experience in working with them. We really struggled with them quite a bit. They weren't treating our team members very well. It was a difficult situation. And so we thought about it, and we really struggled with it. And this client was the number 2 account that we had, the second most profitable account that we had. And so we talked about it a while, and we realized, no one is enjoying this. This is very difficult. This is stressful for our team. We're going to fire the client. And so we did. We called them up, and it was difficult to do, but we did so. And I just remember after that phone call telling the team, and it was just like a weight had been lifted off everyone's shoulder in the office. And people were smiling, and they were thankful, and they were so happy. And it was immediately a breath of fresh air. And we're very happy that we made that decision. It was really, really encouraging. And people saw us putting the people first before profits. But we wouldn't have done that if we wouldn't have been listening to people's feedback and what their experiences was like. So if your organization can listen to everyone, make sure everyone is heard and have an open door policy, we've found that's incredibly valuable, incredibly valuable. So at Blue Compass, we literally have a no-door policy. This is one of our walls, and you can see we don't have doors at Blue Compass. And that was really intentional. When we built out the office, we decided we're not going to put doors on. I think it looks kind of cool without it, but the real reason is that we don't want there to be any perceived barrier between any 2 people at Blue Compass. So a few other things we've done to help make sure everyone is heard and help make sure we're transparent is, instead of just having one review every year where people get together with their managers, we do one-on-ones every single month. It might be something that would be beneficial for your organization. So every single month at Blue Compass, you get together with your manager or leader, and we ask some pretty simple questions. 1, how's it going? What are you enjoying most right now? What's your biggest struggle right now? How can we better support you? And then if there's any guidance for us to impart, we'll do it there as well. But just having that personal touch point every single month has been really beneficial for us. We also have monthly team meetings. And in our monthly team meetings, we try to be really transparent. And especially with the younger workforce, we think that that's really beneficial. People want feedback. They want transparency. And so we're really, really transparent. We share how much income we're making, where the numbers are, what's going on at Blue Compass. You don't have to do all that necessarily, but we've found that to be appreciated and valued in our organization. I think one of the issues that we see is that the biggest communication problem is we don't listen to understand, but we listen to reply sometimes in business. I think we can all be guilty of that, but have you ever had a conversation with someone and you can just tell they're not hearing you, they're not listening? So as leaders, as managers, if we can all do a better job of hearing people and truly listening, that will help boost your culture. All right, number 3, care enough to know their parents' names. So we have Christmas parties at Blue Compass, and every year we always put together a video. And so we're trying to think this year, what could we do? What type of video could we put together? And we decided, it'd be really cool if we went and interviewed all our team members' parents. So we have 30 team members, so that's a lot. We didn't make it to all 30 team members, but we did make it to 9 team members' parents. And so we were able to contact them. Somehow we totally kept it a secret. We drove all over the state of Iowa. It literally took days. We edited the video all together, and we met with them. So we called it Meet the Blue Compass Parents, and we made this incredibly well-crafted wheel here that we spun, and it had people's faces on it. And then we actually went to the parents' homes, knocked on the door and everything. They knew we were coming, but we filmed it all. And then we sat with them, and we would ask them embarrassing questions about their son or daughter. What are their pet peeves? Tell us some things about what they were like in high school. We'd look at their old family photos. Here's a picture of me being shown a senior photo book, looking at one of our designers' paintings that was up on the wall. It was a really incredible experience, not just for our team members, but for me as well. I mean, to get the opportunity to meet the parents of all these different team members. I'd met a lot of them before, but to sit down and talk about our team members, so it ended up being a really cool experience for me, and hopefully for the parents too, I'm going to assume so. But our team members, and so we showed the video, and this is a shot of everyone as we're showing it, and man, they were laughing, and they couldn't believe it. I think they were a little embarrassed, but it was such a positive thing, and everyone appreciated that we took the time and energy out of our schedule to go and do that. They really, really appreciated it. And so the point here is, you don't have to go and shoot a video like this, but if you have an office where everyone in the office, or at least everyone in the department, knows everyone's parents' names, everyone's kids' names, everyone's siblings' name, that's the sign of an incredibly healthy culture. What an incredibly healthy culture it is if they know that. Because that's a sign that you care about other people in your office. So take the time to ask questions. Take the time to know more about your coworkers and those who work with you. All right, number 4 is to put laughter first. So I have a quick video to show. This was a number of years ago. We always have team meetings, and we always have a game at these team meetings that we come up with. And it's usually like a trivia game. You know, we'll put some time and effort into it. And I think this time I didn't have any time or effort put into a game, and so I said, okay, we're just going to play a game of hide and seek in the office. And you would have thought that I had announced $10,000 bonuses for everyone. People were pumped. And so what we did is we had 3 people in our office go hide, and then Carrie, our CEO, had to find them. And so 2 people were found. Excuse me, I have to come over here to play it. 2 people were found, and our developer, David, was the last one to be found. Let's take a look.
Hi, see someone! Did I walk right by you? Oh my God! How'd you get up there? He's gonna break a water line.
You should have seen him get up there first as he jumped.
Did he look like a Spider-Man?
Do you see the feet marks on the wall?
No, I don't. You came up, you scaled this? Here,
Oh my God. You
I'm here if you want to stand on my shoulder. Watch, I'm gonna end up carrying him like a bride. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Oh God!
All right, go down. I don't want
That was a weird video. So obviously that went over really well, but we believe that one of the most telling metrics of a healthy office is laughter. And if you can produce laughter in your office, that is so valuable. And thankfully we have it in spades. But just like you want profit, I mean, we want laughter the same way. We want to measure it, we want to gain it, we want to produce it. Laughter is such a healthy thing to have in your office. And so I encourage you to allow for things like hide and seek, like pranks, anything like that in your office. You know, I've read a lot of books that talk about when you get in a meeting in your office, everyone should immediately get to the point, be as efficient as possible, get out of the meeting as quickly as possible. I definitely understand that, but we don't do that at Blue Compass. We get in a meeting, and for the most part, we'll talk for a little bit at the beginning of the meeting. We'll tease each other. We'll joke a little bit. and then we get down to business. Not every meeting, but lots of the time we do that. And I think that's so incredibly healthy for your culture, to get to know one another, to enjoy each other's time. If you can enjoy the people that you work with, appreciate them, and laugh with them, your team will be more productive, happier in the office. So it's so valuable to be able to do that. I shared this picture on my LinkedIn here recently, but you can see a group of people at our office. The internet had gone out, and we were trying to figure out, why is the internet in our office out? Obviously, that's a big deal for us, a web company. You can see we have dogs in the office, too. That's always a boost to company culture also. But we looked outside, and these guys were dragging wires from the office beneath us. And I think that had something to do with it. But we reacted really positively. Everyone laughed about it. Laughter is one of the most telling metrics of a healthy office. So I encourage you to laugh in your office. Let people laugh. Don't just stay in cubes. All right, and number 5, good leaders are servants, not bosses. Good leaders are servants, not bosses. Leadership greatly impacts your company culture. So years ago, I went to a marketing conference in New Orleans, and when I was there, I was walking around, and I noticed a company there that I recognized, and they actually had a booth at the conference, and so every time I walked by, I took a look at the booth, and the boss of that company was there, and I noticed the boss was on a smartphone the whole time, whereas the employees were standing at the booth, talking with people. And I walked away, I walked back again, same thing. The boss was on a smartphone. The employees were doing the work. And that happened all throughout the show. And then as we got on our plane to leave, we got on and I noticed the boss was there on the same plane in first class. And as we made our way towards the back of the plane, the employees were seated in the very back seats on the plane. And that made a big impact with me, and I always remembered that. And it really taught me that bosses sit in front of the team and leaders sit with the team. And so if you're a manager, if you're a leader at your organization, it is so vitally important that you sit with the team in everything that you do. And that's what we try to do. You're never above doing any task. You're never too good to do something that someone else has to do. So if the CEO is sweeping up after a lunch or something, I think that's a pretty positive thing. I think that's really positive. I like this illustration a lot. To me, this is a boss, whereas this is a leader. And so always try to be supportive of your team, to be a servant leader. A good leader serves his or her team. A good leader understands their team. They know their likes, their dislikes. They know where they want to grow and what they want to do. They know everyone by name. And they're there to serve the team, to get out of the way and to help them reach their goals. Really, really important. And also, if you're a leader, I think another thing to keep in mind is that good leaders take a little more of the blame and a little less of the credit. Really, all of us could probably do this. Can you imagine if your office place, everyone lived by this? Everyone took a little more of the blame and a little less of the credit. Wouldn't that change things? There's so many organizations, big corporations, small businesses out there too, where people are trying to take credit for themselves, stabbing other people in their back, where departments fight against each other. But if we could all live by this rule, be a little less selfish and prideful, and just a little more supportive of our team, think how much that would change our organizations. So I encourage you to live that out in your organization and to consider that. With that said, does anyone have any questions? Any questions? Yes.
Okay, so my company culture is
Yeah.
in the office and we're pretty much like this. I guess what's like the best advice you can give me going forward to really, improve on that and to, just since it's such a small
Sure.
culture.
Okay, so the question is, you have a really small office, 2-3 people, and what can a very small office do to have a better culture? So we used to have 2-3 people also. We have 30 people now, so things have really changed over the years. But when you have a smaller office, I think all these principles are still applicable. And when it's a smaller office too, it becomes even a little more relational. And some of the complexities maybe get bigger and some of them maybe get smaller, but it's all about having great relationships with those other 1 or 2 people. So I think there still needs to be a focus, just like in a marriage relationship or anything like that, on spending time together, caring, asking how things are going. And it sounds kind of silly, but sometimes I say that my business relationship with my business partner is kind of like a marriage in that you have to spend time together, you have to care about the other person, you have to be encouraging and supportive. And so I think all those things are really relevant when your office is very small. Yeah, thanks for the question. Any other questions? Yeah.
I was just curious, so this isn't maybe directly culture, but I think it impacts it. As a small organization, how do you kind of compete with some of the larger organizations out there, even locally here, like the principals and some of
Sure.
they're doing so many innovative things with unlimited PTO. They've got these
Yep.
big, extensive wellness centers, things like that, where
Yep.
you maybe can't do all of that in a smaller company. I'm just curious how you kind of...
Great question. Okay, so the question is, how can a small business compete with attracting and retaining employees when these huge businesses have these great benefits like a wellness center, unlimited PTO, et cetera? Because great company culture is better than any benefit. And so if you can create a company culture where people truly feel supported and they enjoy coming to work, it's encouraging, and people respect one another and really like one another, I think anyone values that more than having a wellness center. Wellness center is pretty nice, don't get me wrong. That's pretty great. And I do believe sometimes it's more difficult for corporations to have a really great supportive culture than it is smaller businesses. Not in all cases. Some corporations have way better culture than smaller businesses. But I do think it can be a little easier for some smaller businesses to really foster that familial environment. So I think just having that environment is really, really valuable. And I mean, we have a lot of people that come from corporations to join our organization, and they love it because it's just unlike anything you can get at a big corporation like that. Yeah, great question, thank you. Any other questions? Yes?
I have a couple, but I want to start out by saying I have a lot of empathy for the snapping turtle. I mean, they're hard to come by, and we've got geese all over for this.
Good point.
Good companies are really made and not born. You don't start out
Yeah.
that way.
Correct.
When you first started out, you maybe did or did not have some of these concepts in mind, or when you first hired your first, second, third, fourth employee. Tell me about the hiring process and how you make sure that you have the right attitude coming in, so you don't have to reshape.
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. That's so vitally important. So the question is, tell us about the hiring process and how do you get the right team members and how important is that in company culture? Great question. It's vitally important. Putting the right people on your team is absolutely critical. And one of the things we always say is you can teach skill, but you can't teach personality. So it's vitally important to get people who have the right personality, the right values. So if you've clearly defined your values, then you already have your work cut out for you. You can judge people based on those values. If you can get people that fit your mission and fit your values, then they're probably going to be a good fit. if I was to see someone who's an absolute rock star, has amazing skills, but doesn't quite line up with our values, versus someone who totally lines up with our values, but the skill isn't quite there, I would absolutely go with the person who lines up with our values. You can teach skill, but you can't teach personality. It's vitally important that people fit our culture and that they're going to be a positive person who doesn't bring drama or gossip. So I think it's absolutely important. So over the years, we've gotten more strict about our interview process. It's really hard to sit down across the desk from someone and judge what type of person they'll be. So we have to have at least 3 interviews minimum. We have to get numerous references, and we have to have at least one of our references be a reference they didn't write down. We have to have one of our interviews be in a more casual place like a restaurant or a coffee shop or something like that. So we have a lot of rules we've put in place just to make sure we do spend time with the person and select the right person. Yeah, that's a great question. It's so important. Did you have another question too? Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question. So we hear the saying all the time, you know, slow, fire fast.
Yep.
With the turnover.
Sure.
Customer interfacing.
Sure.
Kill you if you put the wrong person there.
Sure. So hire slow, fire fast. Yeah, you do hear that. And I would agree with that. You know, right now with the economy going so well and everything, I mean, everyone is hiring, everyone needs people, but I think it's an absolute mistake to use that as an excuse to grab someone quickly or to be less selective about who you add to your team. It might feel good in the moment, but this also might be someone who works with you for the next 20 years. So it's absolutely vital to still spend a lot of time up front making sure this is the right person. And if you have a bad apple, it will poison your entire team. You have to cut them. It's difficult, and sometimes it's the right thing to do. And if you get rid of someone who's poisoning the rest of the team, the rest of the team will probably thank you for doing so afterwards. So I think that's generally good advice. Great.
Throw another one out because I know a lot of people when they hire their first employee need a lot of advice on adding them in. So what advice would you give somebody on that first crucial hire?
Sure. Okay, so what advice would I give someone on the first hire that they make? Yeah. I think the advice would be very consistent with everything we've been saying here. I mean, the first person you hire will kind of set the tone for the rest of the people that you hire. And when you hire that first person, I mean, your company culture is really kind of beginning. So before you hire that first person, I think that you should define your values and your mission and what type of company you want to be. And then start that right away. Start evaluating that person by those different values. So it's really no different from the first person than the 100th person. You got to make sure this is someone that's going to fit the right values and who's going to follow you on your mission and is going to be a positive person you can work with every day. And get someone that you are going to enjoy and that you like and that you're going to have a great relationship with as well. Obviously, that's really important. Sure, okay. So when we were 2 to 5 employees, what did we do to have a good company culture? Back then it wasn't quite as difficult as it was now. But I mean, a lot of what we did is just spend time together. We would eat lunch together almost every single day. Everyone would almost always have lunch together. Today, still with 30 people, most people eat lunch together every day. I think that's really important. On Fridays, we'd have fun Fridays and things like that. We would go, I remember we used to go get frozen yogurt together and everything. It was really very familial at the beginning, and honestly, it still is in many ways. So just spending time together, and when you have just a few people, it's a little easier to have everyone go out and do something together, having events where you get together with your plus ones, anything like that. is valuable. Whenever you can get in a more casual situation, I think is really valuable. So we did things like that quite a bit. We do them now, but we did them probably even more back then because it was a little easier. Yes.
Curious, so, I mean, it sounds like you kind of built your company when you were just the two of you on that you started with the values that you had. So it might have been a little easier to start to be able to grow that. What do you do with a corporation or a smaller company where you need to turn some things around? So like I laugh at, not laugh, but you're one about gossip and drama. I think that's probably one that as leaders we see, and we're
Sure.
a small group, there's 5 of us. How do you change that? Like how do you just kind of say, okay, going forward, we need to change some of these things and make that impact?
Sure.
Sometimes to change.
Yep. So how do you turn culture around when something's not going quite right? Yeah. I think if you can define where the issue is, that's the first step. So if it is gossip, if you feel like there's gossip in the office, if you recognize that, that's really the first step. And then think, what can you do to tackle that? What can you do to eliminate that gossip? And in most cases, it's really probably having a tough conversation either with one person or the group or a couple people and just saying, hey, we're going to do things differently now. And as we move into this new year, we are going to be really serious about not tolerating gossip. Gossip is anything negative that anyone says to someone who can't do anything about it. And we're going to be serious about this now. And so I think having a conversation like that would be good. And then if you know the individual or individuals who are the issue, having that conversation and then saying, let's check in again in 1 month or in 2 weeks and see how you feel it's going, I think that would be really positive as well. So we'd suggest something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
This kind of goes with the question. Is there a fine line between spending too much time together with your employees and not enough?
That's a great question. Is there a fine line between spending too much time and not enough time with your employees? Yeah, probably. That's a great question. In our office, some of us probably spend too much time together. But I think that's probably a good thing. I mean, we had someone new join our team the other day, and a bunch of people after work went out and hung out together and had dinner. And I mean, I thought that was really cool. And the new person who joined, so basically spent 12 hours that day with all of her new team members. And I thought that was really healthy. So I think, you probably can't spend too much time together. I guess you can, but it's a great problem to have if your team members are loving each other and are spending time together and are hanging out. I mean, if you have an office where people are running over to someone else's house to help them with a project on a weekend, or helping each other move, those are really positive signs of a good culture. I think that sort of thing is really good. So it would be really rare that I would ever think that team members are hanging out together too little.
Sometimes you have to say, well, we need this group to be at this event. And sometimes the group, you spend all day with my team. Now I got to go to this
Sure.
networking event with
Sure.
And they, it's just more time that they don't.
Sure. Yep, sometimes there's networking events, and some people are different. Some people don't feel energy and recharged by going out and being social with their coworkers, and that's totally fine. And we would never force anyone to do something like that. So I think forcing your team to after hours or something to go and do an event, that's we would never force anyone to do that. We would say, hey, we're going to go do this event together, encourage you to do so. But we do, sometimes we'll do service days together, and we don't force people to do it, and that's during our work hours, but we strongly encourage everyone to come and do that together. But I think that's a good point. It's usually best not to force people to go have fun, but to strongly encourage them to have fun. Yes?
We have Emily who wants to know how much of the company's annual budget is allocated towards company culture activities.
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so how much of an annual budget goes to company culture activities? Well, I mean, it has to be different for every organization, so I can't say the perfect amount. But I think that I would tend towards saying more rather than less. So I can't say for sure what your budget should be. So at Blue Compass, again, we're big believers in it. So all of our departments have department outings that we'll do every now and again. We'll do team outings when we meet goals and things like that. That's really important. We do team lunches at least once a month, and so we'll have budget set aside for that where we bring in lunches for everyone. So I think things like that are really, really valuable. So I don't know what the budget is, but I think it's a mistake not to have budget set aside for team events like that. Eating together, I think there's something about eating together that's can be a real blessing. I just think bringing in lunch and eating together with your team is really valuable. All right, any other questions? Great. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Drew, for being here today. All the other ones are on your flyer. The registration is open for all of them. And then also, if you are a business that is going to need to go through the loan process, we have a class. It's limited to 20 people. It will be on February 18th, and it's all about going through a loan. It's actually almost a half-day class. So what's expected, the business plan, the cash flows, all that stuff you need, what to expect, how to interview the bank that you want to do business with, and that's coming up again February 18th. That is posted online to register as well. So we will look forward to seeing you guys next month at the top 5 on the 26th. So thanks for being here today.